Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Jennifer and I are so excited today because we have a very dear friend of mine that we are interviewing for today's show. And she's a complete and total rock star. So I'm going to read her bio because I want to make sure I get all of the information in there. And then you guys will also then know how much of a rock star she is. So, sit tight. I'm going to read her bio. All right, here we go. So since 2018, Beth has served as the president and CEO of One Warm Coat, a national nonprofit that provides free coats to children and adults in need while promoting volunteerism and environmental sustainability. One Warm Coat has facilitated the collection and distribution of more than 6.8 million coats to people in need across all 50 states since it was founded 29 years ago. It is a virtual nonprofit with no physical headquarters, and employees and board members reside in and represent all regions of the country. That's great, especially during COVID. In part due to its unique operating model, One Warm Coat has recently awarded 100 out of 100 points from Charity Navigator, receives platinum medals each year from GuideStar, and has been named one of 2021's top nonprofits by Great Nonprofits. One Warm Coat's impact statement, "Every dollar donated warms one person," makes it an attractive partner to many corporations. Beth and the One Warm Coat team have worked with a wide variety of well-known brands to help them accomplish their CSR, corporate social responsibility goals, including Starbucks, Lands' End, Walmart, Eddie Bauer, Delta Airlines, Absolute Vodka, J. Crew, Coca-Cola, Quilted Northern, Dix, Hotels.com, and Old Navy. Oh my God, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Beth is passionate about advancing the mission of nonprofit organizations and previously worked as Director of Development for the Darla Moore School of Business and as Senior Director of Development and Communications for Second Harvest Food Bank in San Mateo and San Jose counties in California, where she directed the largest holiday food drive in the nation for 3 years in a row, raising $4 million and 1.8 million pounds of food. She has served on numerous nonprofit boards, including Shelter Network of Silicon Valley and the Friends Fundraising Auxiliary of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Beth has a master's degree in institutional advancement from Vanderbilt University, yay, go Doors, and a BA in psychology from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, where she was a William E. Brock Scholar. She currently resides on 12 acres in the country outside of Columbia, South Carolina, with her husband, 2 boys, 2 dogs, and a cat. And with that, I introduce to you Beth Amadio. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
What an amazing bio. I'm so impressed.
Thank you. It made me tired hearing it.
No, not tired, impressed.
Yes.
How did you get started with all of that? Tell us your story a little bit.
So when I was in undergraduate school at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, I was working as a student employee, as so many students do, trying to get money to help me get through college. And I was just randomly placed in the development office of the university. And I ended up really liking it. And the senior VP of development at the time started taking me on calls to meet with major donors. So, he was like, let's bring along a young, fresh face. And the first time we went on a call, we got $10,000. And I was like, that was really fun. Maybe
Wow.
I want to do this for a living and, kind of help raise money for and, promote missions of nonprofits, because the $10,000 we got was for a scholarship program. And I just really passionately believed in that because I was there on a full scholarship. So that was kind of how I started down that path. And then Vanderbilt at the time had a program specifically for nonprofit management. It was half through the College of Peabody, which was the educational school, and half through the business school. And so that's how I, kind of started off my training. And also that's where I met Raquel.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. Beth, you have done so much since, since you got your start. And it all kind of started basically from like a chance situation. That's pretty amazing.
And that's really a sort of a trend. People who are in nonprofit work tend to not necessarily grow up going, I'm going to be in nonprofit work. They tend to sort of stumble along it on their life path and then find that that's where they were meant to be all along.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's very impressive. I like that. That's very cool.
I thought it was really interesting that you said you got the $10,000 donation, because I think maybe one of the main things that keep people from doing nonprofit is the fear of asking for donations.
Mhm.
Did that come
Absolutely.
naturally to you, or was it because you got that good win at the beginning that it just felt so great? How did that work for you?
You know, that's such a great question. And it's so true. I think a lot of people shy away from the nonprofit sector, even serving on a board, because they don't want to have to fundraise. I am 100% comfortable with fundraising. And here's why. I'm not asking for the money for myself. I will only ask for a cause that I truly believe in, that I feel like is going to have an impact on people's lives. And three, I really believe that when people start to make financial contributions, they feel good about it. They feel like they're making a difference. And whether it's a $10 gift or a $10,000 gift, it creates a relationship between that person and the organization that is powerful. We have this lovely man who lives in Texas and saw us on the Weather Channel and wrote a letter to me with a $10 check saying how he really wanted to help keep people warm. And now he writes to me every other month and sends a $10 check. And, I love all of our major donors, but he's my favorite donor because, it's that $10 is really meaningful to him. And he always includes a letter saying how he wants to help.
Wow.
So beautiful.
That is beautiful. And I think it's important that you bring that up, that, do what you can. It doesn't have to be a huge monumental amount of money. Everything helps.
And that's one of the things I really like about One Warm Coat and the work that we're doing, because we're asking people to do one of three things. Either one, go clean out your closet and donate your coats, which everyone I think gets excited about doing, because we all know we have way too much stuff in our closet. I know I do. And we want to be able to help someone with those items. And then a second way people can get involved is to hold a coat drive. And I love giving people the opportunity to interface with their community in a way that's meaningful for them. And then thirdly, making a financial donation. So with One Warm Coat, there's lots of ways for people to plug in that aren't necessarily about money.
Okay, perfect. So if somebody decides they want to, say, hold a coat drive, maybe do it as, a fundraiser for like a birthday or an anniversary, or just something to bring their team together. How do they then get the coats to you all? Like if there's not a chapter or a Dropbox or whatever in their town, what do they do?
So that's a great question too. So we have over 1,200 agencies that we work with across the United States. And pretty much we have a partner agency in most major metropolitan areas. But let's pretend that you live, not too close to a major metropolitan area. Right. You can go onto our website, register to hold a coat drive. When you register, we automatically send you a link to create your own personal web page for your coat drive so that you can promote it on social media. You can email it to people. You can even create a dollar goal on there and send it for people that can't be there in person but want to help out. They can make contributions. And then you also get a link to our map of agencies. And we always say, go on there and look. See if you see an agency near you. If you don't, then contact us and we'll find someone for you to take your coats to. Oh, wow. So we're happy to help out with it. We're always adding new agencies. I mean, in the past, year, just in the past year, we've probably gotten over 200 more new agencies, just because, so many agencies found that their client numbers had increased by 30 to 50% because of the economic impact of the pandemic. So we've had new agencies coming on board all the time. It's pretty rare that we can't find somebody in your area that wants and needs those coats to distribute to their clients.
Okay. So it sounds like when you collect the coats, they stay in your community to help.
They do. Yes. So
awesome.
When you do a coat drive, you are literally helping your neighbor. And one of the things I like about this is we do have coat drives. Typically, we have around 4,000 coat drives that take place across the country every year. Mm-hmm. And we have coat drives everywhere from, the coldest places in the country in North Dakota, all the way to Tampa, Florida, which has a huge coat drive every year. And the reason that works is because the local residents in Tampa are donating the coats that are then going to be distributed to the people who need them there in the Tampa area. So they tend to be things that are needed there, more like rain jackets and hoodies and fleeces, not your giant winter parkas. Mm-hmm. So usually what's donated is kind of what's needed in that area.
Well, it makes so much sense. Part of your mission says you focus on volunteerism. Why is that a mission focus?
So I love the idea of giving people a way to give back. I feel like, especially with everything that's been happening in the world over the past 18 months, we can sometimes feel overwhelmed, feel a sense of hopelessness. I think that one way to combat that sense of hopelessness and isolation is to do something for others. Mm-hmm. And this is, a really easy way. We make it really easy and we try to make it fun. You can even hold a virtual coat drive if you're, still social distancing, as so many people are now, mm-hmm. With the uncertainty out there. But I think that the people that we're serving, giving them a way to help, they are part of our mission just as much as the people who are actually receiving the coat. It gives people that chance to make an impact. When you look at everything, you think, what can I, one small person, do?
Yeah.
And this is just a tangible way to make a little bit of a difference in somebody's life.
So the other part in your mission is environmental sustainability. How does that play in?
So every year, we estimate that we keep over 1 million pounds of textiles out of landfills.
That is huge.
It is huge. And there's kind of two pieces of that. So part of that is from all of these local coat drives that are happening around the country, where people are bringing their coats to be distributed to people in need. But the second part of that is a program we have where we work directly with manufacturers and wholesalers. One thing I learned when I came to One Warm Coat that was extremely distressing to me was that there were still a number of manufacturers who, when they had overstocks or irregulars, to get rid of those items in the most expedient and cheapest way for them, they would burn them.
Yeah. Horrible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Very upsetting. Or shred them and they would go into landfills. So there were kind of, these two things that were happening that were just abhorrent to me. So we've been doing a lot of outreach saying, okay, please don't do that. We will even pay your shipping. Wow. If you will please not destroy those items and let us get them in the hands of people who need them. So, for example, 2 winters ago, we had a call from a manufacturer who had done a whole run of coats, and they were big, puffy winter coats, but they had one seam on the outside. So they were perfectly great, wonderful new coats. They couldn't sell them because of this one seam. So we said, and that's part of the reason we fundraise, because we will pay the shipping to keep those items from being burned. Mm-hmm. So we paid the shipping to get these, 6 pallets, huge pallets full of coats. Wow. To Appalachia. And we had an agency there who kind of served as our broker, and they had 12 other agencies come and get all the coats they needed. Mm-hmm. And it was really everything from programs for low-income families to senior citizens. There was a low-income preschool that got some of the coats, and even some that are more creative. There was a dentist there who every Friday provides free services for people who need it. And they noticed that a lot of the people that were coming in to get their teeth cleaned on those Fridays were leaving and going back out into freezing cold weather with no winter coat. And so they were able to get some of those coats. And when people would come in and get their teeth cleaned and leave with a nice new big warm coat. And they loved being able to provide that extra layer of love to the people that they were serving.
And just the impact that has on, like you were saying, the impact on the giver, the person doing the action. I was listening to a podcast this morning when getting ready, and they were talking about the effect that doing a kind act has on the giver, that it's not just, you're doing a great thing. Absolutely. But it also makes you feel better. Like what you were saying, with feeling so hopeless and, how can I have an impact? What good can I do on one person? There you go. Do a kind act.
Exactly. And there's literally a physiological response. There's a little boost in your serotonin levels when you do that kind act or when you make that effort to help someone. And we could all certainly use a little bit of that positivity right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so amazing. One of the questions that I was going to ask you, Beth, is, how do you, because I can only imagine that it must be stressful in some ways doing the work that you do, because you see all of this need in the world and you see it, right up close. But then with what you're saying about the boost in your serotonin level of doing great things,
right?
That just blows my question out of the water.
Well, I know exactly what you were going to say, because sometimes it feels heavy because we never can meet all of the need. We're trying so hard. And this past year in particular, we had so many agencies reaching out to us and saying, really desperately need more coats. Is there any way you can get us more coats? And we just couldn't make it happen because so many of our coat drives didn't take place last year. The largest percentage of coat drives that happen every year for us are employee engagement drives. So companies that are doing a coat drive as a way to get their employees involved in helping the local community. And so many places were shut down. So last year, coat drives were down by 55%. And we all, I feel like part of what kept me going through the pandemic, and we're still in the pandemic, but what kept me kind of going, especially in the initial lockdown, was trying to keep the team feeling positive and not feeling hopeless, because we were constantly trying to find ways to move forward, even with this huge barrier of not being able to activate as many coat drives as we usually do. And we were able to come up with some creative ways to help, but it can feel very heavy, the fact that there's so much need and we can never address it all.
So what do you do for yourself to deal with that heaviness and to make sure that it doesn't just completely shut you down, so that you can then go back and do it another day?
Good question.
It is a good question. And I'll tell you, the first part of the lockdown, I'd say the last 9 months of 2020, I was doing that thing that I think so many women do, where I was not paying any attention to myself or unpacking how I might be feeling. I was focused on worried about my mom. I was worried about my kids. I was worried about my husband. I was worried about my team at work. I was worried about our agencies. And then January 5th, I broke my wrist. And all of a sudden, the way that I stave off anxiety, because I have a lot of anxiety, is busy, busy, busy. Right. And by focusing on everyone else, I'm able to kind of ignore what's going on with me. And then when I broke my wrist, all of a sudden, I was kind of forced to realize oh, this is awful. And I'm in this really bad place. And so I kind of went into a dark place for a little while after breaking my wrist, because I kind of had to slow down and sort of get into my own feelings. And I think I have gotten better at the age that I'm at now with doing some things that I know are going to alleviate that anxiety, like practicing yoga and taking long walks with my dog and long talks with my friends, and just kind of remembering even just remembering to stop for a few minutes every day and breathe, you know, and think about what's going on. So I think that was sort of a dark period, but also a period of growth for me.
Wow, that's amazing that you look at it that way and see it as a period of growth. I like to think that maybe that's what's happening to a lot of us during this pandemic, is that it's making us slow down and think about what's really going on with us, right? And to,
Yes.
you know, like when you broke your wrist, I mean, that was your body's way of saying, okay, you need to stop. You need to slow down. The pandemic is a way for all of us to sort of slow down, take a beat, listen to what's going on inside, and then spend some of that time focusing on us, right? And then it's giving us this opportunity to do something good for other people.
Right.
You can't pour from an empty cup. So take care of
So
yourself.
true. It's so true.
And you can help somebody else.
One thing that was really a silver lining for me is, you know, I mentioned that last year we had almost 50% of coat drives didn't happen last year. Right. But at the end of the year, when we looked at our giving for the year, we had gotten way more gifts from individuals than we ever had before. And I don't mean big gifts. I don't mean we had, you know, way more dollars. I mean, we had way more people that had sent in contributions. And I feel like there was this collective energy around realizing that this pandemic had impacted so many people in such a profound way, and that there were so many people that were hurting. And it made me feel like there was this huge group of amazing people out there who all wanted to help. And so that, I think, boosted me, it boosted our team, and kind of realizing that our support system grew during the pandemic as people really plugged into wanting to make a difference.
That's awesome.
The silver linings of the pandemic.
Yes. Yes.
On your website, your organization says shelter from the elements is a basic human need, along with nourishing food, drinkable water, and a safe place to sleep. Will you tell us more about that?
Yes. So one of the things I've learned, I had mentioned that there's a coat drive in Tampa that's huge every year. They have a lot of homeless people in that area of the country. And one thing I have learned is that prolonged exposure to the elements, even at 50 degrees, which doesn't sound that cold, can actually create massive health problems and even death. So, you know, I feel like a coat is such a small, basic thing, but it really can make a huge difference in someone's health. And so we actually, I mentioned some of the other things, you know, I think in that quote about food and shelter, and we partner with tons of homeless shelters, but we've also made a really active plan and gotten more engaged with food banks over the past year. So for example, one of the distributions, the biggest distribution of coats we did last year was in Harlem at the food bank there. The food bank for New York City runs a weekly food distribution. We had coats that were donated that were new coats that were overstock. We were able to get those donated. We were able to get 2 men in a truck to drive them from point A to point B, so we didn't have to pay to ship them. And then the food bank distributed those when the families came for their weekly food.
Awesome.
So, you know, that partnership of like, okay, we know that these are the basic needs that people have, and let's try to meet them together. And I just got an email from the food bank last week saying like, that was awesome. Can we do it again? So now we just have to find the coats, right? But I do think that was another silver lining of the pandemic, is that our mission really involves working with other nonprofits, because that's what we do. We're a resource to other nonprofits, and we try to provide this one element for them that allows them not to focus on that and to focus on their bigger mission. But it also, I think, caused a lot of nonprofits to sort of look at their organizational process and try to build more bridges and more partnerships.
Yeah,
So-
connecting all the pieces of community to take care of the community.
Exactly. Let's look at the whole person and how can we help each other
Yeah.
Right.
to meet those needs.
So if somebody knows of an organization in their community that could benefit from a partnership with you all, is it possible for that person who may not really be affiliated with this other organization, but is there a way to connect the two of y'all?
So yes, what they probably have to do is contact that organization and tell them about us, because the organization does have to self-register, but it's free to register. Again, we're just here as a resource for the nonprofit. And they have to meet a couple of requirements. They have to be a 501c3 in good standing with the IRS or a school. And then they have to sign a pledge when they become a partner. They sign a pledge that they will, number one, give the coats away, not sell them. We know there's lots of great thrift stores out there that are doing great work, but that's not our mission. Our mission is the coats must be completely free and that they must be given away in a completely non-discriminatory way. So they have to sign a commitment to those two things to become a partner. And we love getting new partners. So we definitely would love for people to spread the word. If you're working with an agency in your community and you think they could really use some coats, definitely on our website, there's actually a button that just says become a nonprofit partner. And we'd love to get some new agencies.
Love it. I can think of so many right now off the top of my head that I would love to connect the two.
Yay!
Yeah, so I have a list going in my head, so I'm gonna work on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it said that you gave last year in the 2019-2020 season 260,351 free coats. What does it take to make that happen?
Well, and it's funny because that was so low to us. Like that number,
Seems high.
that number felt like heartbreak to us because it's almost always over 500,000. So that was, that was really a slow year for us. But the only way that happens, I think Raquel mentioned that we're an entirely virtual nonprofit. So the way that we are able to leverage that kind of impact is through our volunteers. And we call those volunteers our ambassadors. And those volunteer ambassadors across the country that hold the coat drives, I mean, they are the actual gasoline in the car that makes it go. And they're everything from, we have tons of students who are ambassadors and hold coat drives with their sports teams or their school or their service clubs, like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We have lots of faith-based organizations. We have lots of service organizations, lots of small businesses, lots of large companies that hold coat drives for us and distribute those coats to agencies in their local community. And so it's that volunteer power that's really the heart of the organization.
Nice. Nice. Really nice.
So have things started to pick up?
Yes.
People are, starting to get vaccinated and, maybe things are opening up a little bit.
They are. And so our fiscal year is kind of weird. It starts April 1st because typically our really busy season is like October, November, December, January.
Right.
So typically Q1 for us, which is April, May, and June, there's hardly anything going on. This year we had more coat drives happening in the spring than we've ever had in the spring in 29 years. And I think it was because so many people were kind of coming out of their shells and wanting to do things. There was a local brownie troop here where I live who did a spring cleaning coat drive, and they did it in the most clever way. They were in a parking lot for 2 hours one afternoon, all of them with their brownie suits on and their masks, and people just drove through. They advertised it as much as they could, and people just drove through and handed them their coats, and they waved and said thank you, and people drove on out, and they collected hundreds of coats. So we saw a lot of activity happening in the spring, and I think we're already starting to see a lot of interest for the fall.
That's great. And I love that you talk about kids getting involved.
Yeah.
Because, kids want to help too. And
They do.
I know so many friends who have kids who it's part of what they do all the time is they go and do events like this together, or they just
Yes.
go, okay, hey, go look through your toys or look through your clothes, and what would you want some other kid to have?
Yes. And I tell you, the heart of children is so amazing. The children who receive coats from us are so incredibly generous as well. I mean, we've actually given a coat to a child before who's like, I'm going to take really good care of this so it can keep another child warm when I'm done with it. Like they get it, so much more than adults do. They're still so connected to their humanity. And my kids, I know my kids have had this, indoctrinated in them. So they think that way too. They're like, if, to the point where, which is wonderful, but if they see somebody that they're like, does that person need something? What do they need? So I want my kids to learn empathy. I think, in our society today, empathy is lacking, and it's an advanced emotion, right? Even a toddler can feel mad, sad, glad, but empathy, where you can literally envision what it would feel like to be another human being, is something that has to be cultivated. And I think it's a great activity for kids to do with their parents, for schools to do with their students, to have them think about, what would it be like to be cold?
Terrible. It would be terrible to be cold.
Absolutely.
And it would be even worse to watch your children be cold.
That is so true. The letters that I receive from moms are the ones that break my heart the most. When they say, like, I need 3 coats for my kids, don't worry about sending one for me, right? That's just like a mom, right?
Right.
She needs one too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Great work. So beautiful.
Thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I love the fact that, I'm hoping people are going to listen to your podcast and go, I want to hold a coat drive. And there's just so many different ways that you can organize one. We've even had people publicize it in their neighborhood and just put a cardboard box at the end of their driveway and tell people to drive by one day and drop them off. There's lots of different ways you can do it that are pretty simple.
That's
I'm thinking I want to hold a coat drive.
Yay, Jennifer, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's great.
It sounds like your organization has really made it pretty easy to do.
Very easy to do. Yeah. And even, we even provide little graphics that you can use on social media. If you want to put a press release out to your local newspaper, we provide a press release that's already written that you just have to insert your organization's name. We try to give you all the resources to make you have a really successful coat drive and collect lots of coats for the people that need them in your community. And one more thing I want to mention about the kids that we've done with some of the children's groups I've worked with here is we ask the kids to do a little pocket note, we call them. They're just like a little index card size note that people can draw a nice pretty picture on, or put a quote, or even just a hope you're having a great day. And then we'll fold those up and put them in the pocket of the coats that are being donated. So the first time that person puts the coat on, they stick their hand in the pocket and they find this just like a little happy in their pocket. And I feel like that helps the kids to connect to it even more, because then they're taking that step farther with empathy of imagining the person finding the note.
What a great exercise. I love it. I love everything about that. So cool.
I do too. Such a great experience for everybody involved.
That's what we're striving for. We want everyone to just feel really positive about it and feel like we gave them the opportunity to make a difference, and that they, feel good about it. And we know we have people that have been doing coat drives with us for over 20 years and do it every single year, and they love it.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Well, I know there are so many people besides just us who want to get involved and want to keep up with what you guys are doing and how they can get involved and what they can do. So what are all the places where people can find One Warm Coat?
Great. We are on social media at One Warm Coat, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even on Pinterest and YouTube. Our website is a great place to keep up with what we're doing. We keep it pretty current, and that is onewarmcoat.org. And we do have a big day of awareness coming up. October 7th is One Warm Coat Day. And that's kind of the official kickoff of our fall and winter coat drive season when things get a little crazy. So we're hoping to have a lot of social media activity happening that day.
Perfect. So all of the social like graphics and letters and things like that, those are on your website?
They are. And when you register to hold a coat drive, we send you links so that you don't have to dig around through everything to find them.
Oh, good. See, so you make it convenient as well. I mean, there literally is no barrier for people to get it.
That's the hope. We want to make it really, really easy for people to do this thing.
I love it. I am so impressed with the work that you're doing and the work that your organization is doing and the impact that you're having on countless numbers of people. Going back to the podcast that I listened to earlier, when they were talking about doing an act of kindness, it doesn't just affect the person doing it and the person receiving the kindness. There's a ripple effect, like somebody else will just see you doing it and they're affected. So it's the number of people that y'all are helping and affecting, it's amazing.
I love that, Raquel. I love that ripple effect. That's very cool.
Yeah, well, you're doing it. So thank you for all of the work that you and your organization and your team are doing to help so many people.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thanks for, bringing this to light and giving us the chance to talk about it. So good to see your smiling face, Raquel.
You too.
And Jennifer, so lovely to meet you. And I want to know about your coat drive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be doing it. Me and the girls, we're on it.
That's perfect. Awesome.
Well, before we let you go, Beth, I just want to ask one question. So is there anything that we forgot to ask you, or is there something that you really want to tell us that we haven't given you an opportunity to talk about yet?
The only thing I can think about that I always love to humble brag about is that our impact statement is every $1 donated warms one person. And again, Jennifer, back to what you asked me about the number of coats distributed. The reason that's possible is really because we're virtual, so we don't have any overhead expenses. 97 cents of every dollar goes straight to programs with us. And the other thing that makes that possible is all the fantastic boots on the ground volunteers and the agencies that distribute for us. So that every $1 donated warms one person. We're very proud of that. So if somebody were to donate $10, they're warming 10 people. So it's very measurable.
That's amazing. I love it. Beth, thank you so much for allowing us to take up some of your very valuable time and for taking this opportunity to share your message with our listeners, and it's just gonna grow from there. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, sweetie.
Raquel, what a great friend you have. She is so awesome.
She is so amazing. I mean, she's always been such a great person and such a big heart. And I just feel so grateful that I get to be a part of getting that message out and helping her and her organization help more people. So for everybody listening to this,
do a coat drive.
Do a coat drive.
Do a coat drive.
Donate $10. Find your change, donate it, whatever you can. Just every little bit helps, everybody.
I mean, I think in my own closet, and I've got like probably 10 coats.
Same. Right. Oh, goodness. Well, this was such a great, heartwarming episode. So
I know I love your friend so much. Bye,
I do too. I love her. Bye. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.